Welcome back everyone to another episode of The Road Chose Me. My name's Dan, and on today's episode, it's time to have a look at another overland ride. This one is extra special. I actually saw it for the first time in Africa. Now here I am in Australia camping with the owners at their place. This is a 1995 Land Rover Defender 130. It's already been around Africa once. 2 weeks from now, they're shipping it back to do it all over again. You want to learn more about this vehicle? Stick around. There is so much to see on this one. So there is a lot of info here on this vehicle, guys. Not just the vehicle, but the owners as well, and the trip they've been on, the trip they're about to go on. I have a lot to tell you guys about. Sorry if I jump around and I'm grinning like an idiot because this is so exciting. So these guys, Tony and Ruth, they are Australian. They live here in Australia. They bought this thing 25 years ago and they shipped it over to Africa. And unbeknownst to me, they actually drove the same route that I did all the way around Africa. They started in the UK, all the way down the west coast, all the way back up the east coast. And I was in front of them by about a year. I took 3 years to do the trip. They took 2. And so we met up right in the last weeks of the trip. I actually met them in Sudan, and then in Egypt, we met up again. We camped together. The final night of wild camping actually in Africa was with these guys, with this vehicle and with my Africa Jeep. So this vehicle absolutely is up to the task. It did 2 years all the way around Africa through 35 countries. And they loved it so much. They've been here in Australia during COVID. They got stuck here, blah, blah. Now in 2 weeks, they're getting it ready. It goes back in a shipping container. They're shipping it to South Africa. They're gonna spend another 2 years in Africa roaming everywhere that they really wanna see more of and get deeper into it with the same vehicle they took last time. So in terms of a vehicle that can really do it, this is it, Land Rover Defender 130. We'll start at the front and we'll walk all the way around. I'll show you all the features. This thing does have the 300 TDI engine. So that's the 2.5 litre turbo diesel 4-cylinder. I think Tony was saying from factory, it has about 110 horsepower or something. He does have a variable geometry turbo on it. He's beefed up the intercooler, he's beefed up the radiator, a few other bits and pieces. It's probably 130 or 140 horsepower. Not a speed demon, but clearly reliable, clearly up to the challenge. Great thing about this engine is it's mechanically injected diesel. There are no computers in here of any kind. So that's the engine, and as you can imagine for a Land Rover, it's got the big integrated front bull bar. We've got a winch tucked in here, which Tony did say they used a few times in Africa and that he's really happy to have. Made a big difference. A little bit of bar work here to try and protect these fenders at the front, which obviously have gotten a bit of a workout. And then down the side, you can see they've actually got some zebra graphics on this thing. And these guys on Facebook, they call themselves Roving Zebra. I'll throw a link down in the description, so if you want to follow along. And Tony just told me a great story. They were going to spruce it up for their second lap of Africa. And so they went into a place and said, oh, can you print out new graphics and stick them on and make it all look, new and fancy? They got quoted $1,600 to do that. And Tony thought about it for a minute and he said, hang on a minute. I'd rather spend that on diesel in the tank. Now my trip can be longer. There's no reason to put new graphics on it. So they left it alone. This is exactly how it went around Africa last time. And this is how it's going to go around this time. On the back here, they've got an aluminium or aluminum canopy. And so this thing's really great because obviously it's the higher security version of my canvas canopy that I have on the Gladiator back there. And so, these doors, they're all completely locking to keep all of your stuff safe. And on the inside, they have chairs, tables, camping gear. They've got a little Coleman single burner stove, exactly the same one that I took around Africa. They're going to use it again because it's so good. They've got a really good water filtration system here. And in the back, tucked right down low here, you can just see this edge of it. There's a tank here and it goes all the way across with a divider in the middle. 70 litres on this side is for fresh drinking water. 70 litres on the other side is additional diesel on top of the factory 70 litre diesel tank. So their range in this thing is about 1,200 kilometres, Tony said. And then on the roof too, they have a few jerry cans, which they said they really only used in Africa when they were in countries that had shortages. So they would load up and then they could do like 1,500 kilometres, self-contained with the diesel that they've got on board. And that was plenty enough for them. While we're around too, we'll have a look. Of course, BF Goodrich all-terrain tyres. Tony said they actually bought these particular ones in Kenya when they were most of the way done in Africa. They've still got about half of their tread life. These are 235/85 16s. These are the tyres for Africa. Every Land Rover, every Land Cruiser, that is the size they're running. You want to talk about a common tyre size that you will get no matter where you are on the planet, 235/85 16. That's the one you want to run if you've got 16-inch rims. I don't run them on my Jeep because I can't fit 16-inch rims on the Jeep. They have upgraded the suspension all around, really just to carry the weight. Tony said they've had a few issues here and there. Land Rovers are a bit famous for it. They can spit their springs out. Basically, at full droop, the spring, there's nothing to contain it and it will actually fall out. And so on this particular one, he's kind of got this strap system and he's toyed around with a few different shocks and a few different spring combinations over the years to get that right, but he's pretty happy it's really dialed now. Up on the roof, you can see too, they've got a Howling Moon rooftop tent. So I guess Howling Moon is one of like the old school rooftop tent brands, and they just work. They did, what did Tony just tell me? 720 nights or something in that thing in Africa. And obviously they're really happy with it because they're going with it again. It works that well. One addition they've added this time is they now have a quick pitch shower enclosure. So actually it was just out drying in the sun, but this is just kind of your square enclosure that has 4 walls so you can stand there and have a shower in privacy. They said last time in Africa it was a little bit hard when Ruth wanted to have a shower. All the locals are just standing around staring, and so, you know, it kind of gets a bit awkward. They do also have a hot water system in this. So there is a heat exchanger plumbed into a 40-litre tank in the back that is plumbed into the radiator of the engine. So when the engine's running, water circulates all the way back to that heat exchanger, which heats up the water tank. Then you have a tank full of nice hot water for showering or for dishes or whatever. So one of these outlets is the hot water and one of these outlets is straight off the air compressor. So really, really handy to have hot water like that. Something that I'm jealous of and that I will want in a future vehicle. And what I really love about this vehicle too, I said it's from 1995, and remember it's a Land Rover. This is what the interior looks like. So talk about going back in time. You want to just talk about bare bones essentials. I don't think there's any soft touch surfaces here. I don't think any of this was really designed to be gentle to your elbow. This is about as raw as it gets in terms of just a functional, practical vehicle. You can see they've got all their most used items, including their little koala bear. They've got all their most used items up here where they need them, handy to reach, because this is what you actually need if you want to drive around the world. You don't need all the gadgets that are for sale. You don't need all the expensive bolt-ons. You need solid, dependable, reliable, simple, and it works is just the motto of this vehicle. And absolutely incredible to know that they're about to go and have 2 more years of adventures in Africa. It's blowing my mind actually. We've been telling all these fun stories about, you know, our time over there. It's really fun to reminisce, but also makes me a bit jealous at the same time. And another great story that Tony just told me, we're about to drive up to Cape York to the northern tip of Australia, and there's some really great 4-wheel driving and river crossings and all that. They crossed a river in this thing and got it stuck in the middle of the river. This is before they ever took it to Africa. And the river was flowing so hard that it was pushing the car downstream. So they opened both front doors and the river was flowing through the driver's compartment. So Tony said he was sitting in the driver's seat and water was flowing over the EGT gauge. So the river was flowing at that depth. The engine kept running, it never stalled. They managed to get it out eventually, let it dry out, and they've been driving it ever since. He said it was 2 years later, the radio came back to life, and it's been working ever since. Other than having to dry out everything that was in the compartment, everything that was in the rear, the vehicle just never stopped working, even after being that submerged in water. That to me is just incredible. I think about, you know, what would my modern computer controlled Jeep do if I ever did something like that to it? That would not be good, I guarantee you. And you can see they've upgraded the lighting on the front here as well. Just a basic single spot in the front and then a couple up nice and high. As Tony said, they try to avoid driving in the dark as much as possible, but sometimes when you don't have a choice, it's what you have to do. They've obviously got a rear awning on the side awning here, a nice Howling Moon Safari. And at the back here, they've got a few things that are just functional and they work. Of course, they've got a handy fire extinguisher. I should have known that before I even saw it. Up here though, in this sliding rack, they've got a couple of different table setups. So there's a little one here that's only a couple of feet square, and you can just pull that out really quickly and it hooks on the side of the vehicle here and here. And so they love just making a cup of tea or whatever at lunchtime, and that just makes it really quick and easy to get that out. Also a couple of chairs right there, but then further in, there's a much bigger table. And as Tony said, you know, if you're camping somewhere for a couple of days, you pull out the big table because then you're really set up and, you know, that's what you want to be doing. They've got a solar panel tucked up in there now. That's a new addition for this lap of Africa. They didn't have one last time. So you can see this vehicle is ready to go, proven to be able to go around Africa. Now it's going around Africa again. Absolutely mind-blowing. And now that I've said a lot about the vehicle, which is obviously incredible, I really feel the need to talk a little bit about the owners as well and the trip they're going on. So people assume, you know, we must be rich to drive around the world like this. Well, I want to tell you that Tony is a diesel mechanic and Ruth is a beautician, and she used to be a dental hygienist or a dental assistant. So these aren't rich people. They didn't inherit a ton of money. They don't have trust funds. They're not millionaires. They just work really, really hard for years and years. They save every penny they can. They put aside as much money as they possibly can. And that buys them some time off work, and it buys them the ability to go and have these adventures, which I think is incredible. I find that really inspiring. And the other thing that I think needs to be mentioned is lots of people online have always said, like, you know, oh, I was just lucky to get through Africa unscathed, or, you know, I barely made it out alive, or, you know, violence or danger or all of that. Well, this is a really great example. Ruth and Tony have been there. They did exactly the same thing I did. They went through the Congo, Nigeria, Sudan, all of it, 35 countries over 2 years. And they enjoyed it so much. And they felt so happy and so safe, they're signing up to go and do it all again voluntarily. They want to go and do it again. So if you were ever wondering how safe did we feel while we were in Africa, or how dangerous was it, these guys are going to do it again by choice. They loved it. It was that incredible. So don't take my word for it. Take their word for it. They're the ones going to do it all over again. That's how incredible the adventures are, and how amazing you can just get so wild and so remote. And you're not afraid for your life. It isn't like that. And anyone who says it is like that, I honestly don't think has ever really been there, or they're just reading whatever in the news. So find people who've really done it, seek them out and get their advice, get their information, because that's how you're going to find out what is it really like to go and have adventures like this. Also, just for fun, fascinating, comparing it to the Gladiator, the wheelbase on the Gladiator is actually 137 inches long. So the Gladiator has a longer wheelbase, although the rear tray in the Gladiator is only 5 feet long. In the Defender, I think it's about 6 feet. So the tray winds up longer, even though it has a shorter wheelbase. Obviously, the Defender has a way higher payload. I think it's about double of the Gladiator. They burn about the same amount of fuel, roughly speaking, about 12 litres per 100. Although I would think in deep sand and stuff, being a turbo diesel, the Defender would do a lot better. Creature comforts wise, the Defender does actually have air conditioning. That was something that obviously got to work out in Africa and will do again. But you can imagine, you know, noise, vibration and harshness. I don't even know if these guys are on the same scale, if you could even measure them with the same measuring instruments in terms of noisy, rattly, smelly vibrations, raw driving experience versus so smooth that sometimes I have to actually look at the tach to see if the engine's even running. Sometimes I don't even know if it's running or not. So evolution, could you say, or just vastly different vehicles? What are we talking, 25 years old and 1 year old? This is how much engineering has come along, how much things have changed. But most importantly, it's about the adventures that they enable and the places that these vehicles can take you. That's what gets me so excited about this one. And so, as I said, Ruth and Tony, they are on Facebook, Roving Zebra. There's a link in the description. Check them out and follow them. They are about to go and have mind-blowing adventures in Africa. If something you've ever dreamed about, they're about to go and do it in real time. You'll be able to follow them and see what they get up to. So I hope you've enjoyed checking out this amazing vehicle. Until next time, there will be more overland rides coming up on The Road Chose Me. Have fun out there.